All right, so welcome back, everybody. So this is part 2 of explaining the events from Empires of the Void 2. If you are watching this and you haven't watched part 1, go back and watch part 1 first so you can understand why I'm doing it in a certain order, in a certain way, and all that jazz, because we're going to jump right into it here because we still have 5 more planets to do. Now, if you still insist on watching this first, we did these first 4 planets in the first video. So, Corlozan, Emrock, Measle 3, and Tanfu. So we've already explained those. So if you like those planets, I suggest you definitely go watch the first video first, probably. Because it would make more sense. So here we go. We have Arzos here. And that's the one we're going to be talking about next, the events for it. And there's 5 events for every planet. Okay. And once again, we have Arzos in only 2 piles here. Card action and diplomacy, and obviously the wonky ones over here. So let's talk about the ones that are in the card action slot. Okay. Merchant Guild Forms. Purchase a random good for 2 credits. Okay. Pay an additional 3 credits to add 1 influence to Arzos. So this is going to stay in effect for the whole game. And it's going to obviously be right there for the whole game when it shows up. And obviously you can only do it when you take the card action or diplomacy. And of course, this is a third option for this action. So it's either card action or diplomacy or merchant guild forms. Okay? Or whatever have you in this location. Okay? Now, obviously, like I said, it was pretty self-explanatory. You're purchasing a random good, you get money for money, and then you can pay more money for influence. Nice. Easy to understand. Let's move on. Okay, Mining Disaster. Once again, this is the action you're taking. This is what you have to have it on to do this, obviously. Pay 3 credits to gain 1 influence on Arzos. Well, pretty self-explanatory. That's another easy one, since it was basically the last one. So Mining Disaster. Cool. All right, World Ship Down. All right, so choose a number of command to spend. So here's your command here. And let me get a little cube. So let's say you have 3 command. Okay. Well, you can pay any number of command that you can pay. So let's say if I pay all 3 command to do this. So I paid all 3 command. Then I roll a dice, and I subtract the die result from the command. So if I rolled a 3 or higher, nothing else happens. Okay? Because I only paid 3 command. If I get a 2 or a 1, then something's going to happen. Okay? Obviously, if I have more command, this event is more useful. Okay, so then what's going to happen? Well, basically, you subtract the die result from the command, and then the result is the number of survivors found. So if you have a 2, then it means you found 2 survivors. If you have a 1 after you subtract, then it means you found 1 survivor. Each survivor gives you a victory point. So 2 means 2 victory points. 1 means 1 victory point. If a player gains 3 or more from this action, discard this card. So if you were able to get 3, then once again, you get 3 victory points, but obviously, or potentially more if the subtraction was more than 3, obviously. And then you discard this card. So it won't stick around forever. So that's how World Ship Down works. Okay, so then we have 2 cards in the wonky pile. Okay, so here we go. We have Excess Supply. Any player with at least 1 influence on Arzos gains 1 random good when they complete a mission. So missions obviously are in your power cards. Here's a mission, for instance. Okay, attack the set in the surface region. This is a mission. Okay, now that's what it's talking about. Any player with at least 1 influence on Arzos gains a random good when they complete a mission. Doesn't matter what the mission is for, doesn't matter what the mission does, or what triggers the mission does not matter. As long as you have at least one influence on Arzos, okay, and it can be anybody, they get a random good when they complete a mission as an additional effect. So once again, that's an excellent term for this effect. Excess supply. Excess supply. Cool, moving on. Okay, this is the last one for Arzos, so we went through this one pretty fast. Okay, new vein discovery. Place 4 random good tokens face up on this card. So I just grabbed 4 random goods, okay? And now I randomly grabbed them, but they're going to go face up on Arzos, okay? Or on this card. So we're going to put them there like so, okay? Whenever a player adds an influence on Arzos, they may take one of the goods tokens. When all have been taken, then you'll discard this card. So, obviously, when a player adds influence to Arzos, they get to take a good of their choice. That's cool. Now, why is it in the wonky pile? Well, once again, even though the main way you get to place influence is with card action or diplomacy, you can get influence when you complete missions. You can get influence when you deliver cards or deliver, do a delivery. When you finish a delivery, you can get influence that way. And so that's why it's in this pile over here, because it can happen just about anyway, at any point. Influence. Awesome. Cool. So that makes more sense, hopefully. So let's move on. And that's it for Arzos. Hopefully we explained those events well, good enough that you guys can understand that. And we showed Arzos already. So let's move on to the next planet, which is Xylast. I'll give you guys a nice good look at the Xylast planet and the insectoid-like alien race that lives there. They're hard workers. So I guess they're more like ants. An ant-humanoid race, basically. Alien race. Okay, so we have Xylast in 4 piles. And you'll notice that the recruit pile is now empty. There are no more events for the rest of the planets that do something with this action here. And this is the last planet that will take the research and build action as well. So there wasn't many planets that work with that one to begin with, obviously. But Xylast is definitely sort of like a jack of all trades almost here. Okay, so let's grab this one here from attack and move and attack. So slavers on Xylast. Okay, so this is an effect. Place a slaver token in orbit. Now, you're probably going to be looking for your slaver token, trying to find it. It's talking about the slaver ship. It doesn't say ship on the card, but it's the only slaver token there is. So, and it makes sense because you're placing this in orbit, just like it says on the card. So let's do that. That onto the orbit of Xylast. Okay, no influence can be placed here while this is in effect. Okay, slavers have 3 dice and 3 power. If a player defeats the slavers, they gain 2 victory points, 2 influence on Xylast, and they discard this card. So that's why it's in the move and attack section, because you have to attack the slaver ship to defeat them, to get rid of this event, to interact with this event. So that's how that one is going to work. Now we can move that out of the way. All right, so now we take the 1 card left in research and build. Celastian Construction Company. This effect, every player with at least 1 influence on Xylast receives a 1 credit discount when building. That's why it's on the research and build. Now, of course, there is a possibility of getting to do the build action with another event, with card action or diplomacy, but it says, obviously, when building. So whenever you build and have to pay to build, you get a 1 credit discount. Still, it does function with this action mostly, which is why it was in this pile. Still, that's pretty nice, but it only obviously is going to let you do it if you have at least 1 influence on Xylast to do that. That's still awesome. Let's move on. Okay, so we've got 2 of them in the card action spot. Now that we only have 3 piles left, I can center these a little bit better with their corresponding, well, locations. Okay, so Prison Break, in effect. First, any player that moves out of Xylast loses 2 money. So if the Oracles of Zun were to leave Xylast while this Prison Break was still happening, they lose 2 money when they do that. Okay? Okay. Now, how do you get rid of the Prison Break? Okay, well, once again, it's card action or diplomacy or this. Attempt, and you don't have to be on the planet to do this, but you kind of want to be to increase your chances. Unless you're me and you can roll a 6 every single time, you're going to want to have some units on Xylast to help you with this. Attempt to capture the prisoners. Roll a dice. Add 1 to your dice roll per unit you have on Xylast. If you get a 6 or more, you get 2 victor points. You get to place an influence on Xylast, and then this is discarded. Cool. Let's explore. All right, let's move on. Gambling on the races. Bet on rocket races. Once again, this is a card action or diplomacy. You don't need to be on Xylast to do this. Pay 4 credits, so you pay 4 money to do what you're going to do next. Roll a dice. If you get a 4 or higher, you gain 14 money or 14 credits, and you also get a random good. That's powerful and awesome. But if you get a 3 or less, you get nothing at all, and you lost the 4 money that you spent. So gambling, definitely at your own risk. Gamble, definitely gamble only, as a last resort, or like I said, at your own risk. Okay. Now we have another one over here in the wonky pile. Unemployed builders. When a player places an influence here, okay, when they place an influence on Xylast, they may immediately build a building on a planet or their world ship, following the standard rules. So basically, it doesn't have to be on Xylast. So you obviously have to, this effect is going to happen when you place influence on Xylast. You can build a building, but you can build a building on your world ship or on any planet that you control. That's what that means. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to build on Xylast to get the free build, or should I say, to get to build. But you still have to pay for the building that you're building because you're still following the standard building rules. So that's pretty cool. A cool effect if you place influence on Xylast. Now remember, influence can be placed on Xylast on many different ways. Card action, missions, deliveries, you name it. So that's why it was in the wonky pile. Okay, so now Xylast is done. We can move on to the next planet. We still have 3 more planets to go. So let's see if we can get this done even faster than the last one. Okay, next planet is Tanlock. Not the nicest alien race in the universe, but not necessarily the worst, but definitely not the nicest. Tanlock. Okay, well, if you look at the pile, we've got them on move and attack, and card action and diplomacy. So how many do we have for move and attack in this pile here? 1, 2, 3, 4. You guessed it, 4. That's a lot. I did say they're not the nicest alien race in the universe, and that's one of the reasons why. All right, Dimension Gate. But that doesn't necessarily mean this all has to do with attacking. Remember, move is another reason why these cards could potentially be here. Dimension Gate. In effect, when moving, any player can move from Tanlock. So if you're on Tanlock, doesn't matter where you're on Tanlock. If you're on Tanlock, okay, any player can move from Tanlock to anywhere on the board as if the regions were adjacent. So I could move from Tanlock to Xylast, which is on the other side of the board, as one movement. Powerful, right? That's awesome. Dimension Gate. That's how that's going to work. Pretty self-explanatory, for sure. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. Okay. All right. Neurotransmitter satellite. Place the transmitter satellite in orbit on Tanlock. So let me find that. Here it is. So you'll place this transmitter satellite in orbit of Tanlock. Okay. Okay, in all battles in the game, players must play with open hands of cards. So, what does that mean? Well, let's say player 1 had these cards. Normally, his opponent doesn't know what he has when he battles another opponent, right? Normally, you don't. But when the satellite transmitter is in orbit of Tanlock, my opponent will see my power cards before I use them in the attack. But I will also see my opponent's cards. Whatever they may be, I will see their cards first as well. So I'll know what they potentially have and potentially will use for the attack or the defense if they're the defender, okay? That's how that's going to work as long as that transmitter is in orbit of the planet. That may be good, that may be bad. Some players may like that. Some players may not like that. And I think the attackers will like that the most, while the defenders will like that the least. So if you're the defender, you may want to get rid of that transmitter if you can. Okay, so here, and the reason why is because the defender will always choose first. So the defender will always choose their card first. Then the attacker can obviously plan ahead and choose their best card for them. So that's how that's going to work. So that's why you're going to want to get rid of it. How do you get rid of it? Well, a player can attack the satellite with 4 dice and 3 power. If defeated, gain 3 victory points and discard this card and the token. So, hey, it gives you something else to attack. If you're not a big attacker in this game and you're more of a diplomacy person, this is going to give you something to attack. And you're going to probably want to get rid of it for sure. And at least you get something awesome too. And you're only destroying a piece of machinery built by some very crafty aliens indeed. So, neurotransmitter satellite. That's how that's going to work. Okay, so you remember not too long ago we had a dimension gate. Now we have a dimension web. So now we don't need this. Okay. Okay, in effect, when moving, any player can move from anywhere on the board to Tanlock as if the regions were adjacent. So, if I was on Xylast, okay, and Xylast is on the other side of the board, I could move from Xylast to Tanlock as if they were adjacent to each other. That's how Dimension Web works while it's out. And obviously this is an effect that will last the rest of the game. So, cool. Explanatory for sure. Hopefully that works. Hopefully you guys understand that. Okay. We have one more here. Actually, we have 2 more here. Fringe Planetary Network. Okay, effect. When you take control of the surface, you immediately gain 1 victory point and you draw a power card. So if you attack Tanlock, doesn't matter who controls it, you get a victory point and you get to draw a card as well, while this event is obviously on the planet every time. So it's going to encourage players to attack Tanlock over and over and over again for extra goods. For extra power cards and obviously extra victory points. Okay? That's how that's going to work. All right, cool. And we got one more for Tanlock. 1 card action here. Okay. So, exchange any number of your unused goods for any other types. So this is a trade incentive. So you can exchange any number of goods of your unused goods for any other type. So if you have a lot of metal and you need a particular good, maybe you need an artifact, you don't have none, but you have tons of metal, you can exchange them for as much other goods as you want. So you could exchange all 3 of your metal to get yourself 1 metal, 1 life form, and an artifact if that's what you needed, right? That's cool. That's what they're letting you do. But the reason why this is a trade incentive is You also gain 1 influence on Tanlock, which is amazing. So if you take this as a card action to exchange goods, not only are you getting the goods you want, but it's an incentive to do it because you're also getting 1 influence on Tanlock as well. So this is probably the best event for Tanlock for sure. Probably the coolest one there is for Tanlock. If this one shows up, you're definitely gonna want to become friends with the Tanlokans. Okay, so that's it for Tanlock. 2 more planets to go, and then we're done explaining events. Okay, next is Khorzar. Now, you know Khorzar and Setna don't get along very well, which is why I saved those 2 for last, and which is why I did Tanfu and Measle 3 first in the first video, because those guys don't get along either. Go figure. All right, so Khorzar is next. So let's take a look at Khorzar. The cyborgs of Khorzar. Cool. Okay, so let's get started. So how many cards do we have in Move and Attack? We have 3 in this section. All right, Pirate Outpost. Effect. If a player ends their movement on Khorzar, they roll a dice. So, if they end their movement on Khorzar, they're going to roll a dice. If it's 1 to 3, they lose 2 credits, 2 money. If it's 4 to 6, they gain 5 credits. So that's cool. Pirate Outpost. Pretty easy, pretty cool. Okay. All right. Sentinel Bounty. If a player wins a battle on the Sentinel surface or wins a battle against a sentient researcher, the player gains 1 victory point and may place 1 influence on Khorzar. So that's interesting. So either you attack Sentinel, which is that planet, okay? Or you attack a Sentinian. If another player has a Sentinian researcher in their army and you attack them, then you get this awesome benefit. While this is obviously on Khorzar, which will stay on Khorzar for the rest of the game, when it shows up, is you're going to get a victory point, and you can place an influence on Khorzar too. Because, hey, the cyborgs, they don't get along with Setna, so you're helping them out, and they're happy. You're making allies with them by attacking, well, them. So that's how that's going to work. Cool. Okay, Insectoid Attack. All right, this is in effect. Any player that controls Khorzar must immediately fight the Insectoids. So if you control Khorzar, if you have one of your little cubes on Khorzar, and you've got some units to obviously attack with, which you better have, you must immediately fight the Insectoids. If you lose the battle, they must retreat, and you lose control of Khorzar. So if the Insectoids beat you, you lose influence, obviously, on Khorzar. Okay? That's how that's going to work. Now, the Insectoids they get to roll 4 dice, okay? If I didn't explain 4 dice or the amount of dice, it means you get to roll that many dice, but you still only get to utilize 1 of your dice rolls, okay? 4 dice and 3 power, okay? Now, if a player attacks the planet's surface, the player fights the Insectoids instead of the cyborgs. Once again, 4 dice and 3 power. If the player wins, they gain 2 victory points, they get 2 influence, and then this goes away. Okay? It gets discarded. So that's how that's going to work. Cool. Insectoid Attack. All right, we have 1 more, or 2 more actually, on the wonky pile. And there's 1 on the wonky pile for the last planet too. Planetary Core Device. This is an effect. Control of the planet's surface is worth 2 victory points. So whoever has control of the planet's surface is going to get 2 additional victory points at the end of the game or when you score. That's how that one works. Simple, easy. Okay. Galactic Cannon. Effect. Control of the planet's surface gives the player +1 attack power in all of their battles. So So if you're attacking, if you do the attack action and you attack a planet, you get that +1 attack power if you control Khorzar. If you're the one getting attacked by another player and you control Khorzar, you're going to get +1 attack power in that battle. That's what that means. So it doesn't matter whether you're attacking or you're defending. If you control Khorzar, you're going to have this galactic cannon help you out. That's what that means. So that's the last card for Khorzar. Okay, moving on. We got one planet left. Okay. Here we go. We have Sentinel, the last planet left, with a picture of the Sentian researchers, just in case you wanted to see what they looked like, because you're planning on attacking them because of Khorzar. Okay? Cool. All right. So, we have the piles in Move and Attack, Card Action Diplomacy, and one wonky card for sure, which you'll notice right away, the icon on this card, which is in this pile, is also on this card here. But you're probably wondering, why is it in this pile and not this one? Well, you're going to find out when we get to it. Let's save that one for last. Okay, Heatcreek's Invasion. Place 2 Heatcreek's invaders in orbit here. So let me grab the Heatcreeks. Here's the Heatcreek's invaders. Okay? These guys don't actually have a planet in the game, but maybe Ryan Lockett will make an expansion for this game, which would be nice. If he's watching this video, it would be nice. Because I would love to see a planet for the Heatcreeks. And maybe potentially some other planets, potentially, for the fun of it, right? More planets to play with means more variety, right? Obviously means more power cards and events, too, which means that would give me a chance to make another event video, if they ever did that. But anyways, let's place those guys in orbit of Sentinel. All right. If a player wins a battle against them, they place 2 influence here, and they gain 1 victory point, and they gain 1 random good. Then they discard this card and the Heatcreek's tokens. So that's how Heatcreek's Invasion is going to work. So basically, you're attacking the Heatcreeks in orbit, helping out the Sentians, and you get awesome stuff, obviously, and 2 influence, and a good, and a victory point. Cool. Heatcreek's Invasion. All right, moving on. Now we can move these guys off. Almost lost it. All right. Okay, next one. They've got some interesting ones, Sentinel. They've got some interesting stuff here. So this one is going to be... Where's the Fusian Beast? Ah, here it is. Okay. Fusian Beast. A bioengineered monstrosity is loose. That's the only flavor text I'm really doing. Because, well, I might do this one, though. Because of this thing. Okay, so... You're going to place the Fusian Beast on Sentinel. So here it is, close up. You're going to place him on Sentinel. Okay? All right. When the beast is on a planet, no influence can be added to the planet. Okay? All right, that's the effect. What you're going to do, though, for the action is you're going to pay 2 command. So once again, it's going to work with your command slot there. You're going to pay 2 command. Obviously, you still have to take the card action ability, as in you're taking this instead of one of these 2 for this functionality. For this location, I mean. And then you're going to move the Fusian Beast from its current location to any inhabited planet, and you place 1 influence on Sentinel. So basically, you're not attacking this thing. You're just giving this thing to another planet. Like, oh, I don't know. Sentinel doesn't exactly get along with Khorzar, so give it to them. They're always attacking them anyway. Give them the Fusian Beast. And remember, the effect is no influence can be added to the planet that has the Fusian Beast. But basically, yeah, you're getting rid of their problem, but you're just causing other planets a problem. But this is an action you can take often. So that means you can move it again and again and again. Doesn't matter what planet it's on. So that's how that's going to work. And every time you do that, every time you move it, regardless of where it is, you still get to place 1 influence on Sentinel. So that's how that's going to work. That's how that one works. So didn't I say there are some really weird and wonky ones and interesting ones for event-wise for Setna? That's 2 that work with the tokens. Hecrix, now the Fusian Beast. What's next? Well, it's this card. Okay, De-Extinction. Scientists have brought an Ananonian warrior back from extinction, but she will only join those who win her favor. Place the Ananonian warrior token here. So what's an Ananonian warrior? Well, here it is. Sort of looks almost like a Celestian. Almost, not quite. The Celestians still look more humanoid than this one, obviously. But you're going to place it, obviously, on this card here, as in on the planet there. Okay? Okay, and then this is a card action and diplomacy thing, because you're attempting diplomacy to recruit the Ananonian. That's what you're trying to do. You're not attacking the Ananonian, you're trying to recruit the Ananonian, okay, and the whatever that is, okay? But you're doing it using diplomacy, not recruit, okay? If you're successful with your diplomacy, because this is basically like taking the diplomacy action, you're discarding power cards to increase your chances of what you rolled dice-wise. So if you're successful doing that with the Ananonian warrior here, then you get to put the Ananonian warrior into your closest group of units. So they don't have to be on Celeste. I mean, they don't have to be on Setna, but it's the closest group of units that you have that's closest to Setna that's going to get to recruit this Ananonian warrior to their cause. So that's how this event's going to work. Once somebody gets this, then this de-extinction event will get discarded. So that's how that's going to work. Wow. Ananonian warriors, Fusian beasts, and Hecrix invaders. A lot going on. Okay, so once again, this one is actually not so... This one's pretty normal, fairly. So gathering of scientists. Perform a research action. Okay? But yet again, this isn't you're not taking this action to do this. You're still taking this action, even though it says you're going to do this to perform a research action. But you can't build, so you're not doing the build action, just the research action. You don't need to be on the planet to do this either, okay? When researching, you may use any good type on any technology. You immediately gain a victory point and for each tech that you research. So not only are you getting victory points when you are performing a research action with this event, but you can place a good on any location on your tech tree, which is here. Okay? Cool. That's how that event is going to work, gathering of scientists. So we have one left, and that one was fairly normal. This one is wonky. This is probably the wonkiest event here. Okay, so let's bring it up because there's a lot of information. So genetics facility and museum. Bioengineered experiments are loose. Search the facility. Okay, so you're going to roll a dice. Once again, you're going to be taking this functionality of action, and you're going to be choosing this, not these. Okay? Of course, you also have to be in orbit of Setna or on the planet's surface of Setna to do this. Okay? So you're going to roll a dice, and then if you roll a 1 to 3, you rescue a tourist, and you gain a victory point. Okay? If you get a 4, or obviously a 6, so 4 to 6, you're going to fight the Fusian Beast. Okay? That's where this guy comes back. You thought you would never see this guy again. Well, you were wrong. You're going to see this guy again. So then this guy is going to come and show up once again. Once again, back on the planet's surface. Okay, now you have to fight it. If it shows up, you must fight it. So if you roll a dice, that's a gamble of either rescuing tourists to get victory points or that thing shows up. So it's kind of a gamble. And then it's going to get to roll 4 dice, and it's got a power of 4. Okay? If it is defeated, you get 3 victory points, and then you get to discard this card, and you get to get rid of him as well. So you're like, yay, we finally get to fight the Fusian Beast. We couldn't actually fight the Fusian Beast with the last card. That actually worked with this token. But with this card, you're going to get to fight this guy and defeat him if you can. Okay? But here's the thing. All right? Here's the thing. If it is undefeated, you place the beast on the Setna surface. It immediately attacks the player that controls the region. So technically, the Fusian Beast isn't actually grabbed. You're technically fighting it here. You don't grab this until you lose. If you lose, then you're going to grab the token and you're going to place it on the planet's surface. And if a player controls the planet's surface, then it attacks them immediately. So you're doing it. You fail to defeat it. Now it becomes somebody else's problem. That's how that's going to work. And then it attacks them. Okay? And then if somebody is there and they lose the battle against it, then then they have to move all of their troops and everybody they have to a safe location away from Setna. Just like if they lost a battle to another player. So, ouch. And then it controls the surface until defeated. So, once again, if a player controls Setna and they lose the battle, they no longer control Setna because they lost. Because now the beast controls the region. Okay? And then it will stay there until somebody comes along and defeats it. Okay? But obviously you can no longer rescue tourists because they're all, well, gone. Thanks to this guy. So that's how the last event works. Obviously, it was a very wonky event as well. So I definitely saved the weirdest, wonkiest event for last. So hopefully you guys understand all of these events more, much better. Hopefully that helps you out. If you guys liked this video, don't forget to leave me a like, or the last one for that matter. If you liked part 1 and part 2, technically, don't forget to leave them likes, and I'll see you guys again next time, and see you guys around. Thank you for watching.